Okay, should I start again? Yeah, no, I can start. Okay,
Pick up
so
from where you stopped.
yeah, okay, so we saw that we used something called variable that was int. Okay, so if you see it in the slide, so when we are defining a variable, its type is also required, means which type it is contained, like it is integer, okay, or there are different types. If you see it here, there are byte, short, int, long, float, double, boolean, character. So it has different meaning of it. Means what is long, what is short, what is double, what is boolean, what is character. So I'll just give you an example of few things here. So I'll go back into another class, this demo class. I'll write it here. Okay. So there was a variable int. So a. So this is how we defined a variable. This is just a type, and this is a variable name. Okay. Goes like this. And there is another thing called float. Okay. Float is something, suppose if you want to, this is an int cannot have the decimal values. So if I want to have show a variable or show a values, I can have it only 10. I can't write 10.0. So it gives me an error. See, cast to int. So it actually tells me that it is a double type. Okay, it is not a int type. So I can't have that into a. So what I can do, this is a floating. So all these decimal values, those are called floating numbers. So I can write it like this 10.0 here. But see, it again gives me an error. So why? Because it knows that it is decimal value, but I need to write f after it. So that's why it knows this is a floating number. Its value is 10.0 only. It is not 10.0 f. It is 10.0. Yeah, but it is a float. Now there is another data type called double. Let's suppose see, I can have this value here. See it, I don't have to use this float. I can use this double. There is another one called Boolean. Boolean, it has, I suppose Boolean is something that which has only two values. Either it can be true or it can be false. So when it is true, you have to write true. See, it can either be true or false. So these are different variables which we have right now. There is another one, char. So let's see. So this is something we have it like the char is a character. So it can store a character. Suppose A, I want to store A, I can store it there. If I want to store B, I can store it there. But just a catch here, you have to specify it into this invert. Okay, sorry. No. It is string. Okay. Just give me a minute. I'm receiving a call. I'll just disconnect this. Okay, sorry. So when we are defining error, we need to type it into single inverted comma. So this, it has the value as KA. So these are some basic data types. We have some different data types also. These are like already defined data types. These are called primitive data types. Okay, so yeah. When defining variable type is also required, which is called data type. Usually data types are divided into two types, primitive and non-primitive. So these byte, short, int, long, float, double, boolean, and char, these are primitive data types. We'll go into that, and we'll not go into that primitive data type because this will be again big thing. But just for a info, there is one data type called string. So if suppose I have a string named t, okay, what it has, it can contain a value of string like a whole statement, If suppose I want to write a string, suppose my name is yeah. So this have this value Ankush F. So what I'll do, I'll print all of these things into console. Suppose I want to print the first variable int a, then I'll print it like this. Then, B. Okay, so if I run this program here, you can see what it is going to print. So just zoom in here. Okay, so the first the variable int a, that was an integer, so it has printed 10. The another variable float, it has the decimal value 10.0f, so it has a different 10.0. Double and float, there's to have the same value 10.0, it shows the same. Boolean d false, it was having the value false, it stores false. Character e has the value a within single inverted commas, so it actually printed a. And string f, it has this whole string, my name is Ankush, so it was inside double. So there's a difference in character, you specify it in single inverted comma, and you can specify a single character. In string, you can have the whole statement as well as a single character, but you have to specify it into double inverted commas. So it has printed this, my name is Ankush. So these are different type of variable. Why these variables are used? So these, as we saw, when we are actually adding a program, we needed to store something so that at least when we are adding it, we have to have those values. So we can have it like this. We can use them here. Okay. So this is how a variable are used. And there are there is another one, a type of long, which is again a data type with a variable type which you can be used can use. But yeah, at least for a basic one, we can read through them and we can see them. But actually, for basic programmings, we need few of them. Just okay. So long, for long it is different. Long can also have the decimal values. Okay, so long cannot have a decimal value, but whenever you are specifying a long data type, you have to specify capital L after that particular thing. So if I suppose I'll print this again. Okay, so it has printed 10. It has not printed this L. It was just the syntax, how to define it. Okay, and now just to show some difference, there are some, these data types cannot be casted into each other. So suppose I want to store this 10.f 10.0 into an int, I cannot do that. So these have some limitations over it. So int can have only integer values, it cannot have a decimal value. Float can have only floating numbers, it cannot have a single character, like we cannot specify like normal 10 integer. Double will always have this dot zero, so it will always have this decimal values. Boolean, either it can be false or it can be true. If I suppose I want to write anything else, it won't allow it, because see, it can create local variable this, because it is not able to assign this value here. So it either can be true, false, And character is always single character. It cannot have multiple characters, and it is always defined inside a single inverted commas. Long can have an integer value, but it has to be followed by an L, capital L. String can have a long statement or even a single statement. If I want to use it as like character, I can only have M here as well, so it won't give me an error. Okay, so these are different data types, or and this is how we defined a variable. So this has the value which can be changed. Means again, suppose there was a value 10 here in line number 6. I printed this in line number 14. Okay, everything was going well. After line number G, what I did in A, put another value 20. So here the value of A was 10. Now here I change the value of A, because when we are defining a variable first time, then we need a data type. If we have defined it at once, then we don't need to specify int again. So I have just specified A equals to 20, and now if I print it again, so if you see it here, see, the first time when we are printing at line number 14, it has the value as 10, and when we are printing it at line number 24, it has now value as 20. So variable as its name suggested, it can be changed. It can change anytime. So that is why it is called variable, so that at least we can define it once, but we can reuse it, we can change it multiple times. So those are the variables. And I think means I was allowed for 12:15. I think I should be wrapping up. So this is all the variables, how we define it and how we use it, how we change the value of it. A equals to 20. In same way, just for a Boolean, the value here was true. What I can do, I can change the value here again. A equals to, yeah. Now if I print it D here, now it should print false, not true. Okay, see, earlier it has printed true, now it has printed false. So that's how we change the value for D. So this is how we use a variable and we change it. We change the values here. Okay, so by saying that, I'll be wrapping up now, and now we can take some questions if we have, and yeah, means we can go through again if somebody has some doubts. I'll stop sharing and then we can take questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Ankush, for that wonderful time. It's been a nice time trying to follow what you have been teaching us, and you have, I can see that you have really gone extensively into, you have delved into Java directly, and that's a good way to start. Okay, and it's commendable. Thank you very much. I know most of us have a couple of questions we want to ask, and there are some things that are not clear to us. It's usually like that for the first time, but we are going to continue this class as scheduled. I think before we go, if we still want, if we have the time, I can put a little demonstration or examples to some of the concepts that Ankush explained concerning variables, concerning classes, concerning objects, concerning identifiers, modifiers, and all that. I'll just give you a theoretical meaning and a practical real-life examples, because programming has to do with things you cannot see. There are things you write, they are just text, quotes, and all that. But sometimes if there's no annotated way of showing you and relating these things to real life, it becomes something that's like blood or something you can't really perceive. So so we might just, if you have the time in the next, before the next 10 minutes, I can just take us through. But before that, do we have anybody that wants to ask Ankush any question, like he said? So I'm going to allow us to unmute. You can unmute yourself if you have a question and you have anything you want to say. I can't hear you. Okay.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah. Hello. Can you hear?
My question is,
Okay.
we have float float is for decimal, float variable is for decimal numbers. But doubles too is for decimal numbers. So what are the difference?
Okay. So Ankush, do you want to answer the question or you want me to go ahead? Okay. Ankush? Yeah. I think I'll just answer it. Okay, so they are both for decimals, right? But in Java, it's the precision that matters. So one is for 32 bits. If you, for some of us that are studying in computer science, we understand the bit system. And so one is for 32 bits and one is for 64 bits. So depending on the precision of the capacity of what you want to store as a decimal, that's when you decide whether you are using a float or you are using a double. So for example, for financial institutions that deals with numbers, it might be very important for you to consider using double when you are dealing with financial figures. And in some programming languages like C#, we have other things that we call decimal type. You have numeric and the rest of them. So it depends on what you want to do and how you want to put it into use. I think that is it. So you can check Google and find out more about these things. Okay. Ankush, are you still with us?
Yes. Hello. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think if that answers the questions, or do you want to put in some comments?
Hello.
No, actually means these double and floats are actually depends on means floats actually takes less memory and it has less number 32 bits only, and double has 64 bits. So if you in finance you might have long numbers actually, so it is recommended to use doubles there, not float. And yeah, float is, it takes memory but it gives you advantage of having, suppose, oh sorry, this is more.
Okay.
It gives you advantage over float, so that you can have long numbers there in doubles, but not in float.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Abdul Qadri. You are raising your hand. You have the
Sorry,
forum.
my question is for the benefit of those that joined the class late, maybe due to the network issue and all that.
Yes.
I don't know if there's any they can render again, because like for me, I miss a lot of from the back. I missed the class a little, so I don't know if there's anything.
Yeah. I think we are recording this video right now, and so I'm going to put it on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, which you can subscribe to, so that you can get notifications of the free videos from us. And so from there, you can watch later at your leisure time. Okay, so if there's no other question, just because we've not stopped
never don't forget to drop the Facebook page, the name, and the YouTube page, the name, so that we can follow up.
Okay, okay, yeah, if I can't drop it now, I would send an email where I say this is the link to the Facebook page and all that. I'll surely do that. If you register through the link, which I believe you do, before getting this invite, you will get a mail from me soon. Okay, just a brief thing I would like to clarify, just for us to understand, because I won't lie to you, when I started programming myself, maybe because of my mental capacity, I couldn't comprehend a lot of things. When people are talking about objects, classes, variables, it's usually confusing. And I don't know our level of experience in programming, but I think there are ways that I can explain briefly, just within some minutes, if we still interested, so that we can have a better understanding of what Ankush has been talking about all this while. So I would just like to mention brief things about when he mentioned identifiers, when he talked about access modifiers, when he talked about constructor, object, and a class. So because if you are going to write Java, like he said, Java is an object-oriented programming. And for code reusability is very important. You can't be writing the same thing. Let's say you are finding the sum of a value here, you are still finding the same sum here and there and everywhere. So you must learn how to reuse a code, and how a lot of characteristics of object programming has to do with Java, like we talked about polymorphism, inheritance, and all that. So these are big grammars that newbies may not understand. So, but I'll just show us a little slide that explains something as little as this, so that we can comprehend. And as we are trying to comprehend, we would also have it in this video, so that for people that didn't understand most of the thing, they can also see it. So quickly, I'll share this slide just to explain it briefly. Okay, if you permit me. Where's the PowerPoint? Okay, I'll be sharing my own screen, and let me do this. Okay, can we see this now? I would like to get a response from you. You can see my screen.
Yes, we can see.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll quickly like to go to where I want to explain. I'm coming back. I'll go from back to front. Okay, I want to show us this. So when somebody is talking about an object, what is an object? Let's just take a look at this diagram. Okay, this diagram is talking about like a baking pan or something, like a container where you are baking from. A class is the empty container. Okay, but in the empty container, you can decide to have different flavors of the cake or the sandwich or whatever that you want to make, by pouring different colors of what we refer to in programming as objects. So at the end of the day, we have different objects that can come out from a class. Okay, so he was explaining to you then that a class, an object is an instance of a class, right? This is exactly what he's trying to talk about. An instance in the sense that from a class, you can bring out different objects that would have the same characteristics of the class and also have their own different characteristics. For example, take human being, for example, right? So every human being, let's say human being is a class, right? From human being, we can have male and female. And each male and female has the characteristics that we both refer to as human, for us to classify them as human, right? And then they both have some different characteristics that are unique only to both of them. Like for a male now, we know the male characteristics, the body parts and the rest. And for a female, we know they have their own body characteristics too. So this is what, whenever you hear about class and object, this is what we are trying to explain. So when it now comes to programming, so that you can understand it better, just know that an object is an instance of a class, and the class is the what? Is where we instantiate objects from, right? And the class gives the object its mother properties. Like if your father gave birth to you, like I believe everybody here, we have fathers and we have parents. So you have some characteristics that look like your father, and you have some that looks like your mother that you inherit from them. So that is like the class where we get all these things from. So this should be able to at least give you a brief understanding of what the class is. So then I'll go to objects. He also showed us how to instantiate an object from a class. This is an example. He has written an example for you and you have seen it. Okay. So that is, I think that should be pretty clear now. Then we have some things about the class, which I believe we are going to give out some reference materials for you to read and understand better. So I don't want to repeat everything he has talked about again. But there's something he mentioned. He mentions about constructors, he mentions about methods, or maybe functions and all that. So you need to understand what those are too. In a class, we have what we call a constructor. And what is a constructor? Take a female, for example, a pregnant woman that is pregnant in her womb, she's going to give birth to a baby, right? So we take, for example, let's say the woman is the class. In that womb of that woman, there's a baby growing there that is going to come out after 9 months. And when the baby comes out, the baby is already going to have teeth, fingers, one head, by the grace of God, and maybe some other body parts, okay? So when the baby comes out, the baby already has some properties that shows that this baby is human. So that is construct. That's what we refer to in class as constructor. Constructor is like, it enables you to define some already made properties. It enables you, I think I have 10 more minutes, so I'm going to try, the meeting is going to end there, so let me be fast. It enables you to define some already made properties for the object of your class. That's what the constructor does. And then we also have class methods, okay? Class methods that allow you to perform some functions already, okay? So like now, if a class defines a method as ant, so you can define what the ant can do. The ant can clap, the ant can pick up some things, the ant can do this and that. So that is what we call a method, okay? A method performs a single or a specific functions, okay? So those are the physical relationship that we can explain with that. And access modifiers, I believe he has already explained that in details, talking about private, default, protected, and all that. It means that who can have access to it and what level of access does user have to this particular class. If it's private, then that means everybody that are in the class can only call it. But if it's public, then that means everywhere in the program it can be called and all that. So those are just the things I want to talk about. In the next class, we are going to continue from there. Okay, so Ankush, is he still there?
He has left.
Okay, so Ankush is not going to be available on Friday, and I might take the class, or if possible, if he's going to Gotland, he's traveling, he's on vacation, so he just offered himself to help. So if he has the internet connection there, he can connect. If not, I will discuss with him. Someone else might be taking the class and continue from where he stopped. But tomorrow, this same time in the morning, we are going to continue with our introduction to web, where we'll solve our assignment together in case you have not done it, and we'll go into CSS, cascading style sheets, and talk a little bit about the design. Okay, but this evening by 6 p.m., I'm going to send the invite out. We're going to be having Python. So someone is going to be introducing us to Python for those that are interested in understanding Python. Okay, so that's the information I have for now. If you have any question concerning this, you can send me an email or buzz me, or maybe you speak now before the meeting is over. So, but in case this meeting goes off, we are going to send an invite out for the evening class, and we'll appreciate it if you can join and learn more. Again, thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. So see you later. Bye-bye.